University of York. This is the Research Room.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Research Room with me, Lucy Ather.
And me, Janine Healy. Continuing with our mental health mini-series, we have another great project for you.
We are joined in the Research Room by the team from the PAMHOP project. We've got Professor Amanda Perry and Professor John Schofield with us. Welcome to the Research Room.
Thank you very much.
So just to start us off, could you introduce yourselves for us? Amanda, should we start with you?
Thanks very much, Lucy. So I'm the director of the Mental Health and Addictions Research Group at the University of York. I'm also a forensic psychologist by background, so that's kind of where some of this research has come from. And I've worked at York University for about 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, actually, 25 years this year.
Oh,
Do you consider
congratulations.
that?
Happy 25th year anniversary.
That's me.
So John Schofield, I'm a professor in the archaeology department at the University of York, and I've been here since 2010. And
Great.
before that, I worked for the organisation that's now called Historic England, the
yeah.
National Heritage Agency. When I left in 2010, it was all still under the umbrella of English Heritage. So technically I worked for English Heritage, but it's that part that dealt with policy and heritage protection. But also a lot of my role was around community engagement, and particularly trying to work more with harder to reach communities. So I did a project with homeless people, for example, when I was at English Heritage.
Oh, great.
And then I brought those interests with me to York. So now I was appointed as Director of Studies in the Cultural Heritage Management area. So that involves running a master's program in that subject. And I'm an archaeologist by training, but I'm what I describe myself as a contemporary archaeologist.
Okay.
While I do have interest and some knowledge of earlier periods, my main focus is on the contemporary world, the world that we ourselves inhabit, and what archaeology can contribute to understanding that world in ways that other subjects don't allow.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm very excited to have you, John, because I actually am also an archaeologist, or used to be. So, yeah, but you're the first archaeologist we've had as a guest. So,
Don't usually get involved with health research, do they?
No.
It's unusual. And I have no idea about archaeology at all.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how archaeology factors into this project. But yeah, so to start with then, so the project is called PAMHOP. That's the short name. Could you tell us what that stands for, what the kind of longer name is?
Yeah, sure. So PAMHOP stands for the Physical and Mental Health of Older Prisoners.
That's a good. I think you're going to like that acronym.
Yeah, I do like that
because every letter works, doesn't it?
It works, doesn't it? Each letter
You're
works.
smiling about that.
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah. It's a weird name, but it doesn't matter. I like the fact that it's and you remember it, don't you?
Yeah, it's quite
and it
easy
stands
to
for what
say.
it is. Yeah, I do like that one. Do you?
I do. Yeah.
Did you purposely do it that way then?
So I suppose I wanted to have something that reflected the different elements of the study and what we're trying to reflect in it. And obviously the physical and the mental health are the two things we're looking at. And then that group of people, older people, people in custody, prisoners. So it was just trying to fit something that had all those different elements within it that would kind of felt like it worked in some way.
Yeah, something easy to say, really.
Yes.
That's the whole point, isn't
a
it?
short kind of thing.
Yeah, it's short, it's easy to say, and it fits all the letters.
Oh, there we go. Was it you that decided?
It was me, yeah.
Oh, hey.
I have to take responsibility.
Oh,
whether
you can
it's
get
good or bad.
all the credit, all the praise. No, I think it's good.
I do, yeah.
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Oh, I think I might as well.
Yeah.
An 8.
We like PAMHOP.
We do like PAMHOP.
Is that high scoring?
That is high.
That good?
That is very good,
Yeah, it is.
I don't think, no one's ever had a 10.
Right.
Has anyone even had a 9?
I don't think so.
You would have to aspire to.
Yeah, so that's very
We'll have
good.
to-
You're definitely in the top.
The top echelons, is that the right word?
Yeah, exactly.
I do remember when we were editing some of the outputs for this project, and we were using the acronym and the full name. And then I think there was a point when I can't remember, it might have been you, Amanda, but you edited the text and replaced the word prisoners with people in custody. Is it just updating the way we describe people, or is it the correct way to describe people?
I think
is prisoners not the correct term?
I think it's an updating and more reflection of that prisoners are still people, and they are people that are incarcerated, as opposed to prisoners being this generic, potentially stereotypical, stigmatizing word.
God.
So when we write now in journal articles, I would say the language is shifting from that terminology into people in custody. So when I would talk to someone who has lived experience of being in custody, I would never refer to them as a prisoner per se. I would always say, as a person in custody, what your experience is, for example.
So that would make it PAMHOPic. Which would surely score a 10.
That sounds a bit more.
I wondered where you were going with this, actually.
No, it was a serious point, but
PAMHOPic.
That
on
sounds
the
sort
acronym
of
scale, we need to be
epic. PAMHOPic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like that. We can't add points on that. We've already given them.
Yeah, you're still having an 8, but I like it.
Oh, well done. It's worth a try.
So, in a nutshell, can you describe your project, please?
Project was funded through the National Institute of Health, Care and Research, and it's a feasibility study. It's got 3 different parts to it. One was a systematic review of the literature. The second was a survey and a series of interviews. And then the last part, to kind of hang everything together, was a series of workshops that we did within the prisons. And the overall kind of aim of the project was really to understand more about the mental, physical well-being of those people that were 50 years and above. So when we talk about older people, actually in the prison service, and for people that are in custody, they're only 50 years and above. So quite young.
50,
so kind of younger than you might expect. And that's because of the lifestyle that people have. Often they have exacerbated health concerns that mean that they age quicker. So that people may have physical and mental health conditions 50 years and above kind of earlier than someone else in the community might.
Is that because they're in prison?
Partly, but I think also because of the lifestyle that comes with that. Maybe access to healthcare services and physical abuse and so on. So it kind of came about, I suppose, really because older people in prison are the fastest growing group of people, just as they are in the community. So when you think about older people in the community, there's a large growing group of older people who are in prison as well. And that represents a difficulty for how to support and how to adapt and how to make fit interventions that are suitable and acceptable to that group of people. So that was kind of like part of the journey in thinking about why we needed to do this piece of work.
And so you say it's a feasibility study. So we've had a few feasibility studies, I think, in the research room before. But is the idea that you do the feasibility study to kind of see what works and what doesn't, and then is the plan to go on and do a bigger study?
Yeah, so we wanted to look at kind of what the evidence was that was out there. So our kind of starting point was, how can we develop in the future and understand more about what an intervention could be to support individuals with mental and physical health difficulties in this age group. So first we want to check, well, what else is out there? Has something already been done? We didn't want to reinvent the wheel or kind of go down a path that didn't have evidence behind it. So our starting point on that journey was to conduct a systematic review to see actually what else is out there. So the team searched through thousands of pieces of literature to find randomized controlled trials where there was some evidence that they were targeted at people of 50 years and above. And it was important for them to be targeted at that age group because we know that interventions are more likely to work with people when they are adapted specifically the age group that you're working with. Yeah. So we weren't really interested in any randomized controlled trial that was doing this kind of work, but just for those
that
people
age group
that were 50 and above. So that was one of the things we were looking for. And then we were looking at interventions and trials that have been done for people under the care of the criminal justice system, because they were the people that we're trying to help or understand a bit more about. And then we wanted, because our outcomes were going to try to improve mental health, our kind of area for mental health was depression and anxiety. And we chose those two things because, unfortunately, a lot of people can suffer from those common mental health disorders. So we were also thinking about, well, we'd like to develop something that would help the masses as opposed to a small group of individuals within this age group. So that was what we were kind of searching for. So we did loads and loads of searching. And at the end of it, which was a bit of a surprise to us, we didn't find a single RCT that fit those three criteria.
Wow, that is surprising. Nothing. And you looked through thousands and there was nothing.
We did.
Wow.
Yeah.
The lost group.
Yeah.
Well, indeed. Yeah. So we were a bit kind of shocked by that, really, to be honest with you. So we came up with an idea where we would go back to the studies and pick out the ones where there was a proportion of people of that age group within them. So the result of that was we had 20-odd studies then that included a proportion of individuals up to 50 years and above. So it was helpful to be able to look at that and make the point that first we didn't find anything that was specific for this group of people, but the next best bit of evidence we could find kind of created a bit of a picture for us to give us some ideas about what kind of things had been done before.
Yeah.
So that was the first part of the story, really.
I see. Yeah. And what made you pick on archaeology?
So, well, that came a little bit further down the line. So we kind of got this evidence together, and then we went to 2 prison sites, a male and a female site, because we thought the needs of those 2 people, 50 and above, are going to be kind of different. We didn't just want to try to think about them as one group of people, but what were their individualized needs, and we asked them to complete a survey. So the survey was about understanding more about their own demographic characteristics, a little bit about their health picture, so their mental health and their physical health, and their healthcare use as well. And then we wanted to understand what activities did they currently do in the prison site, so trying to get a bit of a map of what is offered. And then what would they like to do if they could? And we thought those 2 things together might then give us a bit of a clue as to what we might be able to offer going into the next phase of the study. So we gathered together that evidence, and then we spoke to a group of people in a bit more in-depth and understanding what the logistical and the practical barriers and the challenges are around delivery of them.
It must be quite difficult to do. You can't do anything because you are in.
Yeah, so there's kind of lots of different things to think about when you're trying to do an activity. And then we spoke to staff, because prison staff were really key in this study in both helping us to deliver it, but also in ensuring that their ideas, their thoughts, their contributions to the study formed part of our evidence as well.
Yeah, because they see them all the time, don't they?
Yeah, I imagine they'd be a really important piece of the research, right?
Yeah. So we kind of had like 3 key outputs from that evidence, that bit of the story. So they were around doing activities that could be social. So really, they just wanted to sit down and have an opportunity to talk to people of a similar age to themselves, and they felt that was beneficial.
Yeah.
So kind of a social aspect to what they were doing. They wanted to have a novel element, so something that they hadn't done before. This is where John comes in. And something kind of different, something maybe to put them outside the comfort zone, something to challenge them a little bit. And they wanted something that would bring them a sense of purpose and reward at the end of it. So those were our kind of key threads of things that came through
So then you took all of that and you thought, what could we put together? What could we offer them to improve the mental and physical health? What kind of intervention could we put together?
Yeah, kind of. So we weren't really at the intervention stage per se, I suppose, but what we did was take the evidence from the systematic review. We then mapped those ideas to the physical and mental health needs that we'd learnt about it from the survey. And then what kind of activities could we do that tick these boxes? So, for example, what element of the workshop that we ran could be social? How can we build in a novelty element to what they're going to do? How can we build in a sense of purpose and reward? So the workshops that we then delivered, there were 6 in each site, and we did a slightly different version of each, one for the men and one for the women.
Okay, great. And then so the archaeology, how does that come into it?
Yeah, so this this all aligns with the work that I'd done previously and continue to do now, working with a diversity of different types of communities. So this is work I've done, but also work that's going on across the archaeology sector as well. So there are projects that are already working with people in custody. There have also been projects like this in prisons in the United States as well. So San Quentin, which is a famous prison.
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard of that.
They've done work there where they brought people in to teach classes in archaeology and things like that. So this sort of thing isn't completely new. And my work with homeless people as well. There's the Operation Nightingale project, which is, again, a prize-winning, quite well-known project working with servicemen or former servicemen who are now suffering from physical and mental health injuries. And they're being brought back into the world through archaeology, essentially. So all of these things are happening already, and they're novel in a sense, but there are quite a few of these projects now up and running. So this was a great example to do something sort of similar, but also push it in a slightly different direction as well. So obviously, in both of these cases, we were working in prisons where the community is a closed community, so they can't just go out and do things in the landscape around the prisons, for example. So we're confined to the site. That was a challenge. But archaeology is a just to take it back to basics. Archaeology is a great subject for the combination that it provides of being a social activity, which Amanda mentioned as being really important in this case. But it also involves a lot of brain work, a lot of thinking involved, a lot of trying to interpret and understand things that are often quite hard to understand. These very subtle traces that exist from the past, trying to work out what they represent, what they mean, in terms of the human behaviors that have created those traces. So there's a lot of brain work. It's very sociable, and it does have a purpose to it as well. And it's, for many people, it's very novel. It's something they won't have done previously. So it ticked all those boxes. And that really provided the backdrop for this. But we had to be fairly restricted in what we did because of the logistical restrictions within the prisons as well. So we did a couple of activities that would normally require equipment, which we weren't able to take into the prison.
Of course not.
For instance, so we had to improvise. Which made it challenging, but still possible.
Yeah. So were you able to go outside and do digging, or was that not allowed?
Digging? No. Although that, depending on the site, that would be possible. It wasn't possible at either of these two sites, but I could imagine in other situations it could be. But this involved 2 other types of archaeological activity. One was a map-based exercise. We call it map regression. It's you look at a modern map of a site, and that in itself was problematic here because we weren't allowed modern maps of the prison.
No, the prison.
Of course not.
So we had to bypass the sort of the modern layer, if you like, and go back further back in time.
Right. Okay.
But of course the maps, the Ordnance Survey maps, go way back. So we were able to look at historic maps and go back in time, taking time slices, if you like, and look at how the site and the landscape has evolved and changed over time. For example, through the influences of the Industrial Revolution, the appearance of the railways and the appearance of mining and all those kind of things, and getting people to think about the maps and think about the ways in which the landscape has changed over time and why it's changed over time as well. And this was, I think this was, it's not an exaggeration to say it was revelatory for some of the people that were involved.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Just suddenly seeing, oh my goodness, so, it didn't always look like this. It used to look used to look totally different. And there wasn't always a railway line. And this mine that is now such a dominant feature in the landscape wasn't always there. There was a time when that didn't exist. So thinking about the landscape in a very different way was one thing. And then the second thing we did was building recording. It's a standard. It's a sort of standard practice in archaeology where you create a scale drawing of a building, a historic building. So you've got a record of what it looked like at a particular point in time, and through that process, you also interpret the building as well. So you can see phases in the building's history. So changes that have been made to it, for example, alterations or additions or subtractions where a part of the building has been taken away or there's been a repair. So by doing these elevation drawings of the building and thinking about the building while you're doing those drawings, you learn about the history of the building. And at one of the two prison sites, there were some older buildings, and we took the group out to the building, and then we made these elevation drawings. Normally, you'd have a big, long tape measure, 10-meter tape or something, and ranging poles, the sort of things you see on a building site or something. But we weren't allowed any of that on the site. You'd normally peg the tape measure down as well with pegs into the ground, and there's a sharp pointy things obviously, so we weren't allowed those either. So all of these things had to be taken account of, and we had to find different ways of doing things. So we were using 12-inch rulers rather than a 10-meter tape.
Wow, that was really hard.
But we did have, it was. And we did have the drawing boards, and we had acetate paper over the top of a scale of scale drawings and things like that we were able to create, and pencils and rubbers and all those kind of things we were able to take in as well. So we were able to make these drawings. But I think the reaction of some of the people involved in that was remarkable, really, and it just shows how beneficial some of these, for us, are quite simple activities can be. And there was one person, for example, who, the start of the exercise, she was just saying, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to be able to do it. And then by the end, she'd done it. And that sense of achievement, having done something that you didn't think you could do. That's the classic case of taking someone outside their comfort zone. And then in the space of, how long were we out there? Not very long, 3/4 of an hour or something, I think it was, reached the point where she'd realised that she can do these things.
So it was only a short period of time.
Yeah, and that was one of the other logistical problems. Normally you have a whole day to do this kind of thing,
it's
from
not long at all.
dawn till dusk or whatever. But in this, there was so many logistical hurdles, I suppose, for us,
I bet.
which is their routine, of course. But the time that they're allowed to be out, the time they have to be back, they have meal times and all those kind of things. And just getting across the site and how that happens as well, when there are some of the people in custody needed particular security measures and that kind of thing. So all of that kind of adds to the logistical complexity of this.
I bet,
So yes, we weren't out there for very long, which meant that time was very precious when we were out there. But it was a wonderful opportunity, and just seeing people go from a position of totally lacking in any self-confidence at all to walking back at the end of this exercise full of confidence. Because they've actually achieved something what for us is really simple, but for them it's not really simple. It's a lot more challenging. So it was great, and archaeology can do this. It's one of those things. It's a fun activity. It's social. It's very sociable. You're working with other people. You're all in the same position usually to start with. You're all in a position of where you don't have the skills. You're all probably feeling a little bit anxious about this, and then you learn together. So that worked really well, and all the time thinking about this building. So why is this building the way it is today? What's happened to it over the last 100 years or so? What alterations have been made to it, and so on? And by that close investigation of the building, by inspecting it at really close quarters, you're this far, just a few inches away from it most of the time. You gain that familiarity and become very well acquainted with this building.
I suppose they're spending a long time in there, aren't they? And it's to have a more in-depth knowledge of where they're spending a long time is interesting for them as well.
Yes, exactly. It's for now. It's their home, I suppose, and they're certainly their neighbourhood, and it might be for some time to come. So just that little bit of extra, that little bit of, I don't know, familiarity, understanding, and the recognition that there's a lot out there to be learnt about the world.
Yes,
a lot of unanswered questions, which they now have some of the skills with which to try to answer some of those questions, or at least have an inquiring mind. And look at a building in a new light. Just something else to think about, perhaps.
I think that's the bit, isn't it? The inquiring mind bit. That we all like dismiss things, don't we? So, for example, when you said you used archaeology, and I think, it's digging people up because I've spoken to you. I think, what are they doing? But there's more to archaeology than I realised. Yeah, and that most people, who haven't studied it or haven't been involved with it, won't realise that.
And I think what was really interesting, I remember, John, when we were first doing the map exercise, was that people started to talk as a group as to kind of their experiences of their own arrival in to the prison. And as part of the study, we were really keen to have the lived experience voice throughout it. So we actually had the Prison Radio Association as one of the partners in the project. So not quite every workshop that we did, but quite a few of the workshops, they came and recorded them. And we made a broadcast show. But it was another way to empower them. It was like you said, Janine, earlier, that forgotten group, empower them to have a voice and to share what they do and how they feel and their experience of things around them. So I think that also helped with this activity that we did with John. And it was definitely one of the most, out of the 6 workshops that we did, it was the one everybody really, really liked. But it was the one also everybody was really most unsure about first. If you said it, they'd be like...
they'd be like, archaeology, what?
Someone's like, are you for real?
Yeah.
So, but that was really rewarding to see that shift happen. And it was all thanks really to the prison sites for letting us do this kind of work, because you can imagine going to the governor, setting it up, and they say, what do you want to do? And you say, can we do a bit of archaeology? And they're kind of like,
I want to give everyone a shovel and a sharp trowel. Probably won't go down very well.
So a lot of forward thinking and acceptance and willingness to try,
that's
and
really nice.
Innovation and creativity was kind of all part of the study within it, really.
And the other thing is, it does align with opportunities that might exist for people if they are released. When they are released. So a lot of local areas have local history and archaeology groups that they could then join and continue their interest. And one of the great successes of the Operation Nightingale project I mentioned earlier on, about servicemen who are being brought back into the world through archaeology. Quite a few of those have gone on to study at university. So these are people who left school at 16 with no qualifications and joined the army mostly. But they've gone on and taken degrees in archaeology and pursued their career beyond Operation Nightingale. So there's a trajectory. If you want there to be, there is. If it's just something that you learn about in the moment and it just changes the way you view the world, maybe while you're in prison, it just gives you something else to think about. Maybe it inspires you to get a book out of the library and read that and learn that way. But it does provide opportunities when you leave, because you do have these other opportunities that open up for you.
That's a really good thing about the books, John. Do you want to say what you did?
So the other thing that we did, and it's hard to know how successful this has been, but because the archaeology department is currently relocating, a lot of staff members are getting rid of books, and we're downsizing basically because we're moving from our very spacious offices in Kings Banner to much smaller offices on campus. So there's a lot of books are being disposed of, and a lot of these are entry level books, textbooks that we had earlier in our careers and stuff. So we collected a lot of these books together and then sent them to the libraries at the 2 prisons where we worked. And the libraries at these 2 prisons were very happy to receive these books. So there is a stack of entry-level archaeology books in the 2 prison libraries where we worked. What we don't know is how well they're being used or anything like that. But it would be interesting to find that out if that was a possibility.
Well, I bet after doing the workshop.
But they're there
they will,
for people. So
some people will. It'll triggered off something, won't it?
Yeah, you'd hope so, yes.
Sounds good. The power of archaeology. I love it.
She loves it.
There's plenty of this stuff on television as well. So there are lots of different ways in which people can pursue this interest if they want to do so.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So you mentioned that there were other workshops. Obviously, archaeology is going to be my favourite one. But what were the other things that people were doing?
Yeah, so some of the evidence and feedback that we got was around really adapting the available activities that were already offered. So if I give you an example, so for the women, we generated a book club where the women chose a book. Most people then had a chance to read the book before we met. And then we had like a semi-structured discussion around it.
Like a book
They
club.
debated their ideas about it, characters, how that might link into their own experiences of life.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine that being quite a good way to open conversations like that.
Yeah, and I think obviously people have different ideas about the book. Some people really liked it, others didn't. And so that was quite a good way of sharing ideas and knowledge and, having something in common to discuss and to talk about. That was one part of the activity. And then the second part for the women was a lot of them did quite a lot of crafting and creative work. So we wanted the women almost to kind of have an element of leading the group themselves, because we felt like if we empowered them and also the librarian to do part of the workshop, then maybe that would leave a legacy for the prison as opposed to us just doing it as a research group. So we had a lady that was really engaged in origami work. Paperwork with
good as origami.
Making shapes and things. Another lady that was able to crochet. Absolutely amazing stuff. And then we had a lady that made cards that they sell within the prison site or community outside. So we kind of took those leads of those people in them then sharing those skills with the other members of the group and encouraging them to have a go at this activity. What was really, I think, empowering through that process was that they had a purpose in sharing their skill with somebody else.
Yes.
And that reinforced the fact that although they were 50 years and older, that didn't mean that they didn't have a skill set that was worth something. And so it led on to discussion about how could old people in custody share their knowledge and skills with people that were younger. So that element of wisdom and being able to demonstrate the skill set was really the important part of the activity itself, even though they were doing something which was quite ordinary, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that was just another example of something that we did.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds like different activities are kind of sort of maybe fun to do, but the most important thing is the empowering people. And that sounds really good.
Yeah, no, I think recognising that they weren't forgotten and that they do have worth and could offer something was really key. There isn't a policy still yet for older people in custody. So we have a younger person strategy that helps to look at what can be done to target and support that age group, but there's nothing for older people. It's something that's been called for quite a lot over the last 8 years or so, but there's nothing there yet. So we're hopeful that having a policy and a strategy for that age group would really help, obviously, to be able to put that in the map and, getting that engagement and opportunity for development as well.
Yeah. And I suppose, so that's really why you're doing this project, because they are a bit of an underserved group, the older people in prison.
Yeah, that's right. And I suppose that harks back to the systematic review where we didn't
find anything. They are a bit of a
nobody's really perhaps looked at this age group specifically before, in that way at least.
How did you decide that you want to do this, find this out about? Have you done a lot of work on the prison service before, and then you've seen this gap, or what's the aim basically?
Yeah, so I suppose our overall kind of like bigger aim is to take the evidence from these workshops and develop an intervention that helps to support the mental health and the physical well-being of individuals in that age group.
I just had a quick question, because obviously I don't work with the prison service or people in custody as a matter of course at all. So I just so the older prisoners that we've been talking about, the over 50s, are these people who typically will have spent a lot of their lives in prison, or are these people who come into prison late in life for the first time?
That's a good question, John.
You've asked our question.
Yeah, no, brilliant question. I like it.
Very good.
So,
do you want to join?
For the men, most of those people had been in and out of prison for most of their lives. There was a small portion of people where it might have been their first offence, but that was kind of a different picture to the women. So the women were more likely to come into prison when they were older, and unfortunately more likely to be in prison for perhaps a more serious offence at that age.
Oh, really?
So, for example, maybe because they had murdered their partner or their husband through historical abuse circumstances, for example. So, so the difference was a little bit not quite the same, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, that was interesting. And I think the other element which kind of ran across both groups was this idea about how their mental health and their physical health was impacted by the environment around them.
And so after you'd done all the workshops and your interviews, and you've sort of collected all your data, what did you do with all that information?
Good question. So we've published, I want to say, 4 papers from the project. So quite a lot, considering it was a feasibility study.
Yeah.
So we were really productive as a team.
Yeah.
And kind of had lots of really good thinking around it. I think the next challenge for us, as I was chatting with John about it before we started this, was what the next step.
So we were going to ask what's next.
Yeah.
So I think we need a programme grant, which would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To really develop the intervention. And then to trial it with a number of sites involved. So at the moment, we're very small scale. What we've done has been limited to the areas that we've actually focused on. So we need a much bigger evaluation of what we've achieved to look then at effectiveness as an outcome. Because at the moment we can't really speak to that other than the knowledge that we've got and what we've seen in the individuals that took part. But that evidence base, to be able to build it, needs something like that to happen.
Yeah, because you might think from your experience, it seems like this is really good, it really works, but you need some proper measures
evidence.
And
you need
maybe a randomised control trial coming up.
That'll be exciting.
Right. Get you back. So, did you compare the different things you did, or it was just all part of a different package? Because the archaeology was one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah. So did we compare them? So at the end, we had feedback from those people that took part. So overall, like the 6 sessions were the book club, and the women did the book club plus the creative activity. We had the chair yoga. We had the archaeology session that was the same for both. The men, one of the things that came out of their survey of needs was a higher kind of incident of drug and alcohol abuse historically. So for the men, we use the drug and alcohol recovery service within the prison to do a session with them about what that looked like for them in older life. At the end of it all, we produced some practical guidelines which kind of distilled some key things. So what were the key ingredients that were needed within the activities that we did? How would you go about doing this if you had to think about the constraints and the practicality of it? And that generated a checklist of things that you could use to think about, well, if I was wanting to do something like this in my prison site, how would I go about it? What things do I need to think about?
That's good.
So, and then we created like a little summary of the sessions that we'd done and the resources that we used as well, so that the guidelines or the practical kind of booklets for each could be looked at by other prison staff as a way of giving them ideas, perhaps.
So you produce some like a booklet. I can see you flicking it here. So that's some sort of output from your research. You can give that to
that's
people.
right. Yeah. So in it's got the resources we used and the different things, different ideas about how to go about delivering something. One of the interesting elements of it was people of that age group saying right from the outset, oh, well, I wouldn't really go to an activity, especially if I didn't know where it was, or if I didn't know anybody else that was going to it, or I'd never been there in the prison site before. So they talked about strategies for how to encourage people to take part in activities they hadn't done before. One of the suggestions, for example, was either having a staff member or a buddy, a peer, actually come to collect them, help them to go to the space. And a lot of them said, well, after I've been there the once, yet I feel able to come on my own now. But actually, it was kind of some of these barriers that came out as we talked to people about it that would form part of the structure of what would be required to deliver an intervention to this group of people that would be different from another age group, for example. So, quite exciting.
So you've got guidance that you would give to prisons, so then they, if they want to, they can have a look, and then they can set up their own activities.
If you're going to do a randomised control trial, are you going to pick archaeology, or are you going to? You can't have all of them, can you? In a trial, it would be too complicated. So you'd have to pick one of your interventions, wouldn't you?
Yeah, would you try, or I suppose would the next stage be kind of refining it and finding out exactly what it is that you would test as the intervention? Yeah, would it be archaeology or or a combination?
Yeah.
Have you thought?
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting idea, isn't it? I think that, I suppose at this point we don't know what is effective.
Yeah.
We can only say what we know from what we observed and what people told us.
You're right at the beginning, aren't you? Yeah.
The rules, if you want to call them that, or the things that we learned about how to deliver something, regardless of what it was probably part of the integrated element of thinking about what could be developed next. So who knows whether the activity itself was the magic bit, as it were.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that myself.
Or whether it's the fact that they were involved with it, or they had input into it, and you empowered them. To create them.
And the broadcasting element of it did have a big impact on them. So the women were able to hear themselves on the radio afterwards, and so that was another aspect of the intervention, if you want to call it, or the workshops. So I don't know whether, just going back to your original question, I don't know whether it is the focus of one activity, or whether the combination of the different things that we did would be a way of looking at the effectiveness of it. Because I think if you took some of those things away, then perhaps the activity itself might not have been as successful anyway. Developing the workshops that also required a flexibility about the activities to take on board the complexity of the environment in which they were being delivered. So I can imagine there being almost different layers to a suite of things that could be offered. And archaeology was definitely the top favoured number one thing
was it?
out of all the things we did.
This is what I said. You see, this is what I wanted to.
Indeed, archaeology is definitely up there.
That's why you brought him with you, because he's the top one.
Of course.
Oh, great. Well, I think now, shall we move on to the hat question?
think so, yes, because we have a little bit of fun now. We've got...
We've got some random research questions to pull out of this hat.
I hope we can answer them.
I'm sure you can.
Would you rather have to present your research findings entirely in rhyme or using only interpretive dance?
That is a good question.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
There is that whole dance your PhD competition, isn't there? Where,
No, I didn't know that. Oh,
you
gosh.
have to, and I have a PhD student at the moment who wants to start her Viva with a dance.
Amazing.
That's
So,
good.
but I'm no dancer, so I go for the I go for the rhyme. I think
The rhyme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so long as I could prepare it in advance rather than have to do it off the cuff.
Yeah, we'll allow that. You can, write a rhyming song about archaeology.
I do, yeah. Well, with this we could use that word PAMHOPic. Every word ends with ick.
Oh, we're gonna have to write
like you
it
said,
now.
epic, PAMHOPic.
Yeah.
You could do it as a rap.
Oh, yeah,
couldn't you?
You could.
Oh my God, you've already
The
got
PAMHOP.
there.
Oh, I think we should make this
PAMHOPic
happen.
rap.
That's brilliant. Well, maybe the next study should be called PAMHOPic.
I think
rather
it
than
should.
PAMHOP.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
I think it's really good. That,
Yeah, and it has to come with a rap.
And the women were really spontaneous. So part of the broadcasting was they could choose some of the songs that would be played. So when they found one that they liked, we had one of the workshops when they burst spontaneously as a group into song.
Oh, great.
It's like, oh my God.
that's brilliant.
They are so talented, as a group of people. So elements of all these things can play part of the journey, can't they?
Yeah,
That's really good.
Yeah, definitely. So you're doing rhyme as well, are you? Yeah. Or would you dance?
Well, I'd have to compliment John, so I think I'd do the dancing.
Yeah, I'll rap. You dance.
You do the dance.
I could dance, actually. Yeah, I think that'd be
perfect. One of each.
Yeah.
Sounds great. What's the next big goal for your project?
So I would really like to get a big grant
Yeah.
to develop this intervention into something that we could measure to see whether it was effective to support mental and physical health of older people in custody. That would be brilliant.
Yeah, that would be great.
If anybody's listening out there,
Please give us the money.
Any funders out there listening?
And we're brilliant at what we do. So just to put the pitch in there. We would do a good job as well.
Oh, definitely. It'll be the same, won't it?
It would be in this context of this project. It would be.
Yeah.
I think the one other thing I'd say is that with the other thing that archaeology can do and has done in other projects is just the taught element.
Yeah.
Where you just present a series of classes basically, which can have a practical element as well, depending on what one is allowed to take into the prison environment. But I've heard of this happening in other places where you find someone to deliver a course, basically on archaeology. So you learn a lot of stuff. You're given a bit of reading to do as well, but very light touch. And then you can take some artifacts in and show people some artifacts. Some stone tools and ceramics and Roman pottery and things like that, and get them to so they can have the opportunity to handle some of these objects as well.
Yeah.
Museums are much more willing nowadays to release material for things like that. So I think there are things one could do with that model as well, alongside the practical element that we've shown is really popular.
Yeah, definitely. I love the potential of archaeology as a sort of mental health resource. Yeah. Think about it.
What's one thing you wish you knew earlier?
Yeah, for me, I obviously before we did this project, I'd never been onto a prison site, never worked with people in custody. I'd worked with people who'd been in prison. So some of the homeless people we worked with had been in prison, and also some of the people we worked with went on to go to prison. So I've been sort of on the fringes of it a little bit and understand a little bit about the consequences and the pathways and things like that. But I think it's just that practical experience of having been in there, and you have to do that for the first time at some point, obviously. And obviously my first time was with Amanda on this project. So I think, I think I was probably a little naive to begin with in terms of what might be possible and those kind of things. But it's a learning process, isn't it? And I think it would have helped me if I'd been more familiar at the start.
Yeah, I imagine that's
probably the only thing, though, in this particular case.
Yeah.
But the learning process is really important as well.
Yeah.
And experiencing those things for the first time is very much part of the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think one of the things that would be really nice to explore that we didn't do as well in this study that I think would be good to think through kind of and have talked to them more about, which we didn't do, was about the through the gate opportunity. So John mentioned about the link between archaeology in the prison site and the potential for that to follow through when people are released into the community.
Yeah.
And I think there's a massive gap there. There's a void there that people, once they're released and gone through the gate, that, you know, they've lost their identity, they've to start again, they may or may not have family connection. So how do they start to rebuild their lives, and what things are they able to offer? And I think that can be even more challenging perhaps for older people in custody. So I think it would have been good to have talked more about that with them, to understand more about their views. And I think if we were to do the bigger piece of work that we hope to do, it would be nice to build that into it, because from a funder perspective and kind of bringing benefit back, you need to see the trajectory through and to look at, well, does this thing then, because individuals' mental physical health is improved, does that then mean they're less likely to return back to custody? Because they're able to somehow cope better, or they deal differently with the circumstances that they have to face. It's something we would want to build back into the research in the next phase, definitely.
That sounds very good. What's your favourite way to unwind after a long day of research?
I quite like a hot bath.
A hot bath?
But I don't do it very often, so I should probably do that more. Yeah, hot bath. Something with a bit of a smell in the bath, like some oils, some bubble
nice
bath or
smell.
something. Nice smell, yeah.
Some nice bubble bath. And
I should maybe do that more often, shouldn't I? But that's kind of a nice thing to do.
Candles.
Or Turkish bath trip.
Oh,
that would be nice. Yeah.
Turkish bath.
I don't know if I've ever
What
been
is a
to
Turkish bath anyway? Is it just hot?
Like a steam?
Yeah,
Steamy?
so they've got a Victorian bath in Harrogate. That stems back hundreds of years. So in there, they've got these separate heated rooms. You essentially get warmer and warmer and warmer, and they've got a cold plunge pool and a sauna room for you to dip into. And then there's a rest space. So you can kind of go away in there and hide for a few hours. And imagine you're on holiday in the depths of winter. Well, in my head, I do anyway. So that's kind of a nice treat as well.
We can't do that after every day of research.
No, definitely not. No.
After the end.
Once in a while. Special treat day.
So mine is very, it's very yin and yang. It's very summer, winter, very, very big contrast between these two. So summer, I definitely go out. I live in York, but go out into as close to the countryside as I can get, walking, and like a bit of bird watching as well. So that's a total relaxation activity. Just and I'm not a serious bird watcher, but I've done it since I was at school. So, it's been with me all the way through. But in winter, so you can't do that in winter very easily. So in winter, I also, in my spare time, I DJ.
Wow.
So I put my headphones on and do a bit of that.
That's why you look so
and
natural when you
have
put
it all
this
set up at home. And I just, I do that. Or if I've got a gig coming up, then I'll prepare for that.
Wow.
Listen to some stuff and prepare my set.
What kind of music then do you do?
Oh, well, I'll do the whole set. Actually, almost everything. A lot of the gigs I do are conference, archaeology conference.
Oh, right.
So we had the Theoretical Archaeology Group conference in York just before Christmas, which is it's quite a big deal. I think there were about 500 to 600 people came. And we had the party at the Crescent, which is a community venue in York, and I DJ'd that.
Oh, wow.
Lucy, you have to go.
I will. I'll have to go back to some archaeology.
So it's in Exeter this year. So it'll be down in Exeter. It's the one of the venues in Exeter is hosting the party.
Wow.
But in the build up to that, it becomes a bit more serious, and I'm sort of listening to stuff, preparing my set list. But it's everything. It's with a gig like that, you've got people from all ages are there, and they all like something. They all want something different, obviously.
Yeah, but that's quite difficult.
So it's about getting the full mix and getting something for everybody. So I do, and quite a lot of world music because there's a very international audience usually for these things. A lot of electronic dance music, but also the tempo builds through the evening. So by the end of the night, it's full on and heavy and stuff.
Brilliant. brilliant.
But
such a
so in
dark
winter,
horse.
I do
know.
that. So I do that in the winter. Right, it's listening to music, and
Ah.
if there's something coming up, I'll be preparing
Oh, wow.
set lists. And
That's fantastic. That's,
It is,
that's
isn't it?
very different, isn't it?
Totally.
Bird watching.
Yeah. I know.
It is, isn't it?
I know.
Definitely.
Oh,
It's
And then
great.
spring and autumn, it gets really interesting. 'Cause of course
it
all mixes.
the mix of the two.
I like it.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I know. I want to go.
I know. Yeah,
Can I come?
Definitely.
Don't think you can beat that with a DJ, to be honest. What is the nerdiest thing you do?
Because we're all quite nerdy in research. Well, you're quite cool because you're a DJ, so I don't know what if you
Yeah.
could be nerdy.
You might have a nerdy thing.
Yeah, I don't know how nerdy it is, but I quite like building work, as in construction. So,
What, you're a builder?
well, no, I'm the labourer. So my husband does like a lot of the DIY and the building type side of things. So
Ah.
we recently had a bit of building done. But we like to try to do as much of it we can
yourselves?
ourselves. So we work as a bit
great.
of a tag team. So I'm the one that's digging and shoveling and taking stuff to the tip and
Oh, that's
getting
very good.
all
very
the glamorous jobs. But I don't know how nerdy that is. I think that's just kind of probably a necessity.
Oh, that's very good, though. I'm impressed.
But
that, yeah,
I
do
quite
some
like
DIY.
it because it's you start off with something that's a bit ropey on how you want it to look, and then you produce something
quite
kind
satisfying
of,
at the end. Yeah,
positive out of it. So I suppose it's the process of it that I like.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But that's completely different to work. But I suppose
yeah, that's
and I
quite
suppose
nice.
it's got a creative aspect to it. You're kind of coming up with ideas for how
Yeah.
something could look differently, I suppose. So
Yeah,
that's kind of something
definitely.
that I quite like doing.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
I suppose I quite like the those little surprising things you find in places sometimes, and this is the archaeologist in me coming out. So I went to Clitheroe this weekend for reasons we don't need to go into. But I was at Clitheroe, and someone in Clitheroe said, "Oh, you should go to the hardware shop and go downstairs in the hardware shop where they've got all these buckets of washers, and you can buy a washer for 1p."
Oh, wow.
And the screws and things like that, all this sort of stuff.
Oh,
And I thought,
tools.
so I went to the hardware shop in Clitheroe,
yeah.
not to buy any of these things, but just to see the washers, the 1p washers in a bucket. And I thought that was really I'm very happy that there are places like that in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess the fact I enjoy going to places like that to see things like that. I didn't go to Clitheroe, especially to see the bucket of washers.
But you
I
were
went to the
excited
hardware
by the
shop.
bucket
Oh,
of
I went
yeah.
to
washers.
the hardware shop to see the
Hardware
bucket of
shops
washers.
are brilliant.
Yeah.
I love them.
So that's the closest
Yeah.
I get to. I guess that's pretty
Yeah.
nerdy.
Yeah, I
It
think
is, yeah.
archaeology. I've been accused of being nerdy for being an archaeologist.
Yeah,
as well.
archaeology, I think is
Archaeology
quite
in
good. Yeah.
general.
I think it
so,
is,
yeah.
isn't
Quite
it?
nerdy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you just pick some random thing up and you say, "Oh, look, isn't this interesting?
Yeah.
Look, what can I learn from this thing I've just picked up?"
Yeah,
And actually, you can learn quite a lot from this, whatever it might be.
yeah. I
So
was
that
thinking-
so archaeology is by its very nature.
Yeah.
It is
so,
a bit, isn't
so you're
it?
a top nerd because you're
nerd,
at
yeah.
Top nerd. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming in today. That was really, really interesting. Fascinating project. And yeah, we'll be looking out for PAMHOPIC
Oh, yes.
to come along.
Definitely.
Which, yeah, really hope that happens for you. But yeah, thank you very much for coming in. And we'll put some information down in the show notes for people so we can put links to your papers in there and your kind of website and things where people can learn a bit more about the project.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Thanks for
Thank you
coming.
very much for having us.
Yes, thank you very much.
thanks.
Very fun.
Bye. Don't forget to like and follow The Research Room wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to leave us a review, that really helps other people find the podcast.
Does it?
It does, yeah.